I'm Mike Graham. Welcome to Putin's War, our weekly look at what's been going on in Ukraine, how it's been worked out in Washington DC, in London and in Moscow. There's been a lot going on this week. I'm joined once again by military expert Hugh Andree. Hugh, very good afternoon to you.
Hi,
thanks for joining us. It's a big anniversary of the war this week. We've had Putin speaking to his adoring acolytes in Moscow. We've had Joe Biden visiting both Ukraine and Poland. Tell us what's been happening.
Sure. So I thought we'd start by just doing a little bit of a ground update. As has been happening for months now, there's still increased fighting around the area of Bakhmut. But also now, I think UK military intelligence believes that the offensive that is imminent, the offensive which is going to see another 200,000 or 300,000 conscripts deployed, will be now probably the main area will be the town of Volodymyr in the Donetsk region. That's where they see a build-up happening, and it's where they're seeing an increased level of artillery. The bombardments have been getting more and more frequent. So, yeah, I think that's probably where we're gonna see the main offensive being launched, and that probably ties in with another surprise visit.
Yes. Well, Biden, I suppose, didn't tell anyone he was going to go. He suddenly popped up in Ukraine. First time he'd been there since the war actually began. So presumably his intention was to show Russia and Putin that, America means business. We're here for the long run, and they are investing another £500 million, $500 million, I believe, and going to give them more equipment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there's probably a lot of pressure from the Kremlin to the Russian commander of the Russian Eastern Forces group to get that town taken. They've been trying for a while now and have failed.
This is Bakhmut.
Around Bakhmut, around Volodymyr, etc., where this new offensive is going to take place.
Yeah.
So, Western intelligence will be able to see where the build-ups are occurring. And so part of the sort of corporate, the communication strategy against Russia will be to show that the alliance is strong, hence President Biden's visit, etc., and just to show that we remain resolute against what Russia's doing at the moment. That ties in quite well with the delivery of all these tanks that they're waiting for.
Yeah, is that happening yet?
That's happening. But again, that part of President Zelensky came here, President Biden's gone to Ukraine and to Poland, and the talk's still about aircraft. As I've said to you before in previous weeks, I absolutely believe we'll see aircraft being deployed.
They're saying it could take months to train the pilots, though, right?
It takes 4 years to train a pilot.
Yeah.
Well, I assume that Ukraine have readily trained pilots, and as we discussed before, the tank crews are being trained down in Dorset at the Royal Armoured Corps headquarters. Now, it would normally take 4 months to train a tank crew, but they're being able to do it. They're able to do it in weeks. And I think one of the things which has been demonstrated, and I think the Secretary of State for Defence mentioned this morning, Ben Wallace, the spirit and morale of the soldiers, the tank commanders that we are seeing over here in the UK, whether it being doing, basic infantry training through to commanding tanks, etc. They firmly believe that they will be defending Ukraine until the death.
Yeah.
Which, again, then that makes you think, well, we're not going to see a very quick resolution here until those international borders of 1991 are restored. Then any chance of peace, I don't see it happening. One of the key elements of any fighting force is supply chain, and we heard the Secretary General for NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, talking about his concern that ammunition supplies from the West is actually becoming stretched. Yeah. It's becoming stretched because of the huge consumption that's being used at the moment by the Ukrainians.
They're basically using it faster than we can give
Absolutely.
it to them. Yeah.
Now, I don't think for one moment that the Russian forces aren't enduring the same problem. They will be.
Yeah.
But part of President Biden's visits, and we saw Prime Minister Sunak, and there'll be many, many more surprise visits in the not too distant future, is ensuring that supply chain is kept intact, because the maintenance, it's called MRO, the maintenance, the repair and the overhaul of kit and equipment is very time intensive and very cost intensive, and Ukraine have a vast array of equipment for many countries now, so that really complicates the whole manner by which they maintain, repair their kit and equipment.
Yeah. And while we see some countries in Europe being slightly less enthusiastic about continuing to put money into Ukraine and put military equipment into Ukraine, you could see how important it was to Poland that Joe Biden showed up there.
Absolutely.
Because the people of Poland were so happy to see that, it seems to me, that we could maybe learn something from them.
Yeah, no, they are extremely grateful, and this is where it's backfired on President Putin, because one of the reasons that he gives for his invasion of Ukraine, the special operation, is the increased presence by NATO encroaching on Russia. Now, actually, all that's done is backfire on him, because before he invaded Ukraine, Sweden and Finland, for example, were very happy remaining on their own. And
yes.
And
now they want to join
NATO.
Now
they want to join NATO. So he actually, by doing what he's done, he's actually facilitated that encroachment by pushing Finland and Sweden down that path of joining NATO. He's got a big ally in President Lukashenko in Belarus, but even
he's about the only ally, isn't he?
He's about the only ally, but he's also not prepared to commit himself 100% into getting involved with the war, because unlike Putin, he doesn't have a grip over the people.
No.
That Putin does.
And he doesn't really want to get involved unless somehow Belarus becomes involved, as he has said. And China also has been interesting this week, because China seems to have sort of slightly taken a step back. At the beginning of the week, it was looking as though they might be helping Russia. It doesn't now look that way. Yeah,
well, China always has this, never fire first sort of principle.
Yeah.
But the silence from China is deafening, as the saying goes, and it's almost as if they see Russia now as that sort of annoying uncle who turns up at a party and embarrasses himself.
Yeah, that is absolutely the way it looks at the moment. So as far as Putin's speech goes, was there anything surprising in there for you?
Not really. I mean, he's ripped up the SMART agreement on nuclear missiles, which again we've seen Putin do this all the time. It's a bit like Isaac Newton's quote: every action
as a
reaction, and that's what he does.
Hugh Andree, thank you very much indeed. This is Putin's War. I'm Mike Graham. Remember, you can keep up with everything that happens at the embassy of Mike Graham.